Jaw droppers, yeah!
Hi, I'm Larry Anderson, and welcome to Ready, Set, Go. The videotape that you're about to view is a compilation of very special magic tricks that I've put together that work with items that you find everywhere in everyday life, but require that you have a little preparation going into the tricks. So it's one of those ones when you know you're going to go to a party, or you think you might be at a business meeting or in some social situation where you want to present a very special trick. You set it up just before you go in. So there's a little bit of preparation, hence the name, getting ready, you're all set, and go, and really knock their socks off. Just a word about the format of this tape before you dive in. Some of the tricks on the tape are designed to be done seated at a table, and some are designed to be done standing up, and some of them are just great gags that you can perform anywhere and really get a lot of mileage out of. Now, the way that the tape is laid out is that you will see me perform each and every one of the tricks before a live audience, so you can really get a feel for how the trick is to be presented. And then immediately following that is the full explanation with all the mechanics and all the nuances of how to pull it off. And I want you to go back and forth between the two until you really get a whole feel for not only the secret part, but the way it should look when they're watching it, and how to keep those separate, okay? And then finally, use my presentation as a model, but slowly as you're starting to get it, add your own personality, your own touches to it, because it really should come from you and not just be a carbon copy of me. And also, make sure that you practice each one of these tricks before you perform them. I mean, really, anything you do, no matter how simple, the first time you do it, you might fluff up. There's a learning process, kind of a curve, you know, a bell curve. The first time you do it, maybe not so good. Second time, hey, I figured it out. Now I know how to fix that. And the third time, you're flying, and you'll really start getting some results. So don't sell these tricks short, okay? Give them a chance to, sort of develop as you go along. And also, practice in front of a mirror. It can help you when those critical angles are there. Some of the tricks have angles that are kind of crucial. I help you and tell you which ones those are, and I want you to check yourself out in the mirror so you know what the audience is seeing. Also, there's a magician's rule: don't repeat the trick. There's a reason for that. They know the surprise. Once they know the surprise ending, you're leading them down the wrong path, and boom, there's a surprise. If you do it again, they know what to watch for, and you're busted. And also, there's a lot of tricks on this tape. As you watch it, don't get overwhelmed and say, oh, how am I going to absorb all that information and put the tape away? No, watch it from beginning to end and enjoy the tricks, and then pick out a couple that you like and learn those really well. All right, once you got two of them, then you can go on and pick up another one. I mean, they'll still be on this tape for years to come. All right, just learn a couple well. Some of the tricks on the surface, when you start to watch the explanation, you'll say, oh, that's complicated. Believe me, it's not complicated. I'm just explaining it in great detail so you really get it. Don't think they're too complicated, and then also get overwhelmed and put them aside. Try out each one, okay? And finally, don't reveal the secret. It's tempting. People are going to say, tell me how you did it. But don't, because people really don't want to know. They like to be astonished and amazed. So keep the secret to yourself and keep your audience entertained. So go out and have a lot of fun with these, and I hope you enjoy this Jaw Droppers videotape. I'd like to try a little experiment involving my glass of milk here, since we're having milk and cookies and coffee here. It involves a number of you. Let's see, before I try this experiment, have one last taste in case something happens I don't suspect. What I'm going to do is actually take the milk. We'll cover it up with the handkerchief, and just to make sure that there's no funny business and that the milk is actually there. I want some verification. Would you reach underneath, Peggy, and make sure that the glass of milk is actually there?
Yes, it's there.
All right, Manuel, would you do the same? Make sure I haven't done anything funny.
Yes.
Steve, reach under there. Make sure you feel that cold glass of milk.
Okay.
Scott, make sure you got the glass of milk is there. Okay. Now, the object, of course, is to do something with it. I said it is an experiment. It's a glass of milk. You remember the old expression, got milk?
Yeah.
The answer is no.
Oh.
Yeah! Thank you very much. Well, this is a surefire killer, and this will definitely make some eyebrows raise when this happens. It depends on its success of having a confederate. That's the word that's used in the magic business. Simply means a helper, someone who's in on the gag and you've prepared this with ahead of time and perhaps rehearsed it once or twice. That always helps. In the case of when I demonstrated on the tape, Scott was the actual person who made this trick work. And if you recall, and look at the tape again, Scott is the last person to verify that the glass of milk is in fact underneath the handkerchief. And at that point, he stole it. I'll show you how it works. By the way, this can be done with any object. It does not have to be done with a glass of liquid. It can be done with a borrowed watch. It can be done with any object at all, as long as it's reasonably within the same size or smaller than, say, a glass of milk like this. This would be great for a low-ball cocktail if you're at a bar. As long as you have a number of people and one of the person is in on it, and he's your confederate, in this case Brad is going to be playing the part of my confederate, what you do is you say that you're going to cause something to happen. Never tell in advance what's going to happen, because then they'll know to look for the vanish of the glass. You just say something's going to happen. I'm not sure what. I'm going to take the glass like this and we'll cover it with a handkerchief. Now what you want to do is put as much of the handkerchief or whatever you're using, if you've got a towel or anything to cover, forward like this so it's covering the glass. Now you'll notice how I'm holding it. My hands are right up at the top here, so that if I were to remove the glass, which will happen, my fingers will hold the same relative shape as the top of the glass. That's necessary because the glass actually does disappear before you show it gone, and you need to have it look that way, like it's still there under the handkerchief. You say, now, I want to make sure that everybody knows the glass is here and there's no funny business going on. So, Tiffany, would you reach up underneath there and just make sure the glass is there? So you offer it to somebody. And you say, and also, Sarah, would you just reach underneath and make sure that the glass is there? And she reaches under and verifies. And Brad, would you make sure that it's still there? Now, it's very important that the handkerchief falls below the edge of the table rather than out here. Just bring it over here and say, Brad, would you make sure it's there? Now, he grabs the glass, looks up at me, and says, oh, yeah, it's there, you know, just like everybody else does. But as he drops his hand out, he takes the glass. I'll give you a look at this, what's going on now underneath. Put it back, if you would, Brad. So I bring it over and say, Brad, would you make sure it's still there? And it is there? Okay, great. Now you just move right out here with the handkerchief over the hand, and all of the attention is still on the hand. So you make sure that nothing changes in your voice. Naturally, you're going to be a little nervous the first couple times you try this, but just be as natural as possible. Tiffany, Sarah, Brad, is it there, in fact, there? Okay, everybody knows it's there. Look at everybody's eyes. They'll be looking at yours and say, okay, now you want to fill some time so that everybody forgets who verified, who was the last person to touch the glass. You say, okay, now, remember, we have a glass of milk. Let's see if we can do something with it. Watch. Oh, remember the expression, got milk? See, I'm filling time here. Well, the answer is no, and when it's gone, you'll see some jaws drop right there. So there is definitely time that needs to pass from the time Brad or your confederate steals whatever it is that's under the napkin to the time you vanish it. And you give it a little practice a couple of times. Also, depending upon where he's sitting at the table, it's best to have him close to you, maybe at the end of the table, because if he's right in the middle, and if Tiffany were the one stealing it and somebody was sitting next to Tiffany, she's more likely to get caught taking the glass because she's got people sitting right on the side. So positioning your people at the table also makes it much easier to hide the steal as it happens. So that's the That's the vanishing glass of milk. Brad takes it, you bring it out, say, this is going to really amaze you. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but hey, it disappeared, and then take your bows and have a lot of fun with it. Hey, it was sure great getting together, wasn't it? Yeah, I love getting together with you guys. Whoa. Oh, man, look what I did. Oh, geez, this was such nice rust wallpaper, too. I'm really embarrassed. Yeah, awfully. No, I'll tell you what, if we just rip this little bit off here, if you take this, I think, to any wallpaper store, I'm sure they can match that, okay? So you're standing there talking to your friends, you know, the old party or whatever, and then you suddenly slip like this and say, oh my gosh, look what I did. Yeah, I'm really sorry about this. Kind of tore your wallpaper. I got a little burr on my ring, sometimes catches things. Anyway, obviously this is not a tear in the wallpaper. I'll show you because there's no wallpaper on this wall. It's a painted wall. This works best on a wall that is actually wallpaper, but you can still pull it off sometimes on a painted wall because it's such a funny illusion. What this is instead of a piece of wallpaper, you see it's just a simple piece of paper folded very cleverly with a little sticky on the side. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. All right, the preparation for this supposed blunder is really very clever. This, of course, is as I said, nothing but an ordinary Post-it. However, it's really quite an optical illusion because this edge really makes it look like this is the ripped down piece of wallpaper from the wall here, which should be the same color. Obviously, this being the wall, the underside of this piece of paper should be the same color. Obviously, it would go a nice brown color here if it were real wallpaper. That's why it's important when you do this that this stays down and you don't see underneath. You almost fold it flat, but you have to have enough curve there, enough arc to sort of keep this down like that so you don't see underneath it. Okay, now let's show you how to prepare it. It's actually one of these handy little sticky notes that you can get in any stationery store like this. They come in all different colors, so you can just pick a color. I'm going to use the green here. So what you do is you peel one off like this, and the sticky now is on the underside here. I'm going to show you what you do is you actually fold it diagonally so that the sticky is on the outside. I'm going to show you now that I've got another one prepared here just like it, so you can see the actual tear. The sticky is from this dotted black line up. This is the whole sticky area of this piece of paper. So, and it's facing this way, so the sticky is out. All you do now is you start tearing. You want to keep as much of the stick surface as you can, so you need to tear a rough edge right near the top here, all along as narrow as you can, because you want to keep as much of the sticky surface down this line that I've got drawn here. It gives you kind of a rough torn edge, and just keep peeling off bits of paper till you get right down near the bottom. Don't touch the sticky areas very much, because you want it to stay nice and sticky, and it'll get oils from your fingers there, so try and avoid it. I'm going to flip it over now and tear down this line roughly. Remember, the sticky area is here, so this is the tear, and that's the hinged area there. You just tear along here. By the way, don't mark these with pencils when you do it. I'm just doing it for illustration purposes. So that much is sticky. Now that's what goes on the wall this way, and before you stick it on the wall, you simply fold this back and kind of curve it a bit like that, so you're going to have that nice folded back, ripped area, and then that's going to go on the wall like that, and give it a nice little roll like this before you do it, so it's kind of all ready to go. And you can see it makes a very nice torn. That's why you want to tear that area there, tear here. So right now I've got the sticky area here. I like to put that on top, because then the weight of the thing, I mean, you could stick it this way too, but the weight of this might peel it away from the wall and kind of destroy the illusion. So I like to try and remember where the sticky edge is when I stick it on a wall, and have it on the top, so that, by the top I mean this being the ceiling. This would be the top edge, and you can have it at any angle you want, but have this down so if there's any weight of the paper, it's falling down flat against the wall and you're ready to go. So finally then, the way I like to stick it on the wall is I open it up with the sticky side facing out and clip it like that. So here's the sticky here, you see the dotted line, so you can just press it flat against the wall while you're leaning. I like to do that instead of do it this way, and you'll see why. Have it flat open. So when you're standing there, you just press it against the wall, and you're talking, and then when you slip, it's already open, and when you go in, you can adjust it so it's got the little curve in it. Say, gee, look what I did. If you pressed it on this way, not open the way I had it, then you have a problem, because that's supposed to be the color. In the case of this wall, that should be rust underneath, and they're going to see that it's not. So it's better to press it flat and then come back and just put the little roll in it like that, so you don't see that it's one piece of paper, and just, oh, look what I did. And of course, you can usually do that because people are far away and they don't start getting in a little closer to see it until you start going, oh my gosh, look what I did, I'm sorry, and you can adjust it. I've got a little problem here. Now you can let it be seen quite close up, usually about a foot away, or 2 feet away is really a great way. And then you can finish if you like. You can say, I'll tell you what, why don't you just take this and put your thumb there and kind of tear that off like that, and say to the person, I think you can go to the store and find a matching piece, and then just have kind of a sorry grin on your face, and sorry. Here's a trick taught to me by my late friend, a terrific magician named Peter Pitt. Hey, have you ever thought about this, that money just isn't worth what it used to be? I mean, you're all fairly young, but I mean, it's really changing. In fact, the value of $1 nowadays seems like it's worth about 50 cents. It takes $2 just to equal 1. I think what we deserve as American citizens is a good tax cut. I think the executive branch and the legislative branch should get together and give us a tax cut. Here, I want to give you one of those. Yeah, that would be nice. We'd all take home more paycheck. Once you examine those bills, make sure there's nothing wrong with them other than that they're not worth the paper they're printed on. They are real bills, right?
Looks good.
Okay.
Looks good to me.
Okay, they're not prepared in any way. What I'm going to do is place them together, and I'm going to give us a tax cut, a symbolic tax cut. We'll place those together like that. And I've got here deeply embedded in my side a pair of scissors. And what we'll do with this is we'll just give ourselves a 50% tax cut right now, okay? The heck with the legislative branch. I'm just going to cut right through like that. Now, did I cut those two bills or did I not cut those two bills? How does that tax cut feel? Pretty good?
Yeah.
Well, it does. But I tell you, the executive branch and the legislative branch will never let us get away with it. It's always going to be $1. Yeah. Way. They're just not worth what they used to be. What a cut up this guy. Yeah. Thank you very much. Well, the secret to this also is very clever, as it is with many magic tricks. In fact, you probably won't believe it until you try it yourself. It's so simple. It has to do with the properties of something you can find everywhere in most stationery stores, and that is rubber cement. It allows this whole miracle to happen. If you look down here, I'm going to show you one of the bills. They are, in fact, prepared bills. They're not legitimate, and yet you can hand them out as, I mean, they're legitimate. They're real bills, but they are prepared. But yet you can hand them out, and they will go through the closest scrutiny without being questioned. Here's what you do, basically, is you turn the bills over so that they are back up, and take some rubber cement, a good grade rubber cement that you can get at a stationery store or art supply store, and pretty much run a swath of rubber cement about 3/4 of an inch wide or an inch wide over the N in the middle of the word one. Make sure you get the full coverage from end to end. I'm doing this on a piece of cardboard. And you want a fairly good layer, kind of thick, but not really goopy thick, but just make sure you get good coverage. And then you do that on both bills, and literally a matter of about 30 seconds, that will dry. Now, when it does dry, you then take the bills after they've already dried, and you take a little bit of baby powder or talcum powder, and this will be dry to the touch, and you can just sprinkle it on like this, just a little dusting of it, and then just kind of blow it and rub it around, and that will keep the rubber cement so that it won't adhere to anything, especially the other bill, which will also have rubber cement on it. And with talcum powder on it, they won't adhere, and they'll slide nicely across each other, and actually will, as I say, withstand very close scrutiny. You can actually hand them out for examination at this point. Yet they have that 3/4 inch swath of rubber cement on them. And that's the whole miracle to it, because now that you've done that, you're ready for performance. And as I say, you're not going to believe this until you try it. By the way, you can actually set this up with ordinary typewriter paper or printer paper from your printer, and that way you can practice it without actually cutting up a lot of $1 bills that you have to tape back together again. Here's the performance of it. You bring out the two bills, and of course you show them. Put them actually back to back. That's with the rubber cement side together. And you must actually should use fairly new bills on this. When they're old, it'll definitely impede the success of the trick, because you'll see how this works. You actually do cut them. Now I've got them very evenly aligned on all edges, so they're right together. And let me show you on the bill that I've just rubber cemented over here. You want to be able to cut this dead center. Now if you take a bill and fold it right in half, I've actually drawn a line here. You see that the center of a bill is really right through the right eye of George Washington, and right pretty much almost center of the O and dollar. And you want to cut as close to that center line as possible. So with those two marks as your sort of guidelines, you then cut the bills as you hold them. I hold them together like this and kind of spread my fingers so I can get the scissors across like that after everybody's examined them. And then you go right for that the O and dollar and line up the scissors on the I of Washington and the O and dollar. You've literally cut them, and it's amazing about the property of rubber cement. All you have to do is at this point, you let everyone know that they're cut. You don't want to fan them open or anything like that, because that's going to spread the rubber cement. You've actually got a healed edge here, and by healed I mean it's almost as though it's healed itself. If you just let them drop, they will hinge. The rubber cement will make a hinge just like that, and you will see that they'll hold together. And they obviously can't withstand much scrutiny at this point. You can't pass them out. You just show them, people's jaws will be dropping like that, and just say, and I think I'll just save those and try and get as much money for those $2 as I can before they raise taxes again. Hey, how would you like to try an exercise in the psychic sciences? You know, like ESP, that sort of thing? Okay, well, I need someone here who's very ESP inclined. And I know, Maggie, you mentioned earlier you were from California, right? I think she's perfect. Are you ESP inclined?
Yes, I
All right,
am.
let's see if you are. In fact, this will help if you are. We're going to place out my napkin here. That's going to be our sort of working surface for this. I have two things that I'd like you to have control of, and that's the pen and paper. And I also have a deck of cards here. And as you know, in every deck of cards, there's 52 different cards. They make them that way so you can tell them apart. And convenient, isn't it? I'm going to give them a quick little shuffle here, just so they're in no prearranged order. And I'd like you, Maggie, to cut the deck anywhere you want in that shuffled deck. Great. We're going to mark that spot exactly by placing the other half of the deck that way. All right, now I want you to take the pen and the paper and write down the card that we're now going to see for the first time. I'll show it to you. I'm going to turn my head so you can see it. I'm going to take a scan around like this so everybody can see it but me. Okay? Everybody got it? We're going to put it back now. We no longer need the deck. The whole purpose of that was to get a random card that you've written down. Okay. What I'd like you to do now is to take off that piece of paper from the tablet. Don't let me see it. And kind of crunch up the paper in a little ball just so I can't read it. Okay? We're done with all of this. Okay. Go ahead and place it in the ashtray. So far, the only representation of that card is either on that piece of paper or it's somewhere in the middle of the deck. So it still exists right now in the physical universe in symbolic form on that paper. We're going to do something now that sends it from its legible form on this crunched up piece of paper back to the elements. Take your hand, place it here with mine.
Okay.
I want you to concentrate on your card. Are you thinking of it?
Yes.
Concentrate. All right. You know what your card is. You're thinking of it. It's no longer written on that paper. It's nothing but ash. Thinking of your card?
Yes.
Did you take the King of Clubs?
Yes, I did. Incredible.
Well, here's a little mystery that is guaranteed to build a reputation for you if you can pull it off with some good salesmanship, because actually presentation is almost the keynote to the success of this effect. The mechanics of it are really quite simple. In fact, there's one magician who's recently had some television specials that's really made a name for himself using this very same principle. The information that appears on your arm can be any kind of information. In the case that I'm showing it to you here, it's a selected card. As I referred to earlier, this other magician is doing it very successfully with people's names. It makes no difference what bit of information you're revealing. It appears mystically on your arm through the ashes. All you need to do is know some piece of information ahead of time about the person, or in the case of this person, the card they've selected, and I'll show you how you know that in just a minute, and you prepare that on your arm in advance. It's invisible. I'll show you now how you do that. In the case of this particular trick, I'm going to make sure that Tiffany selects the King of Clubs from this deck. I know that in advance. The trick basically works with setting up the arm with one of two different materials, in this case rubber cement, and also works very successfully with milk or half and half. The rubber cement is surefire. Sometimes the half and half with different kinds of papers doesn't work as well, although I like the half and half better because it doesn't appear as instantly on your arm when you rub the ashes as rubber cement, and kind of starts to gradually appear when you use the half and half on your arm. You have to rub the ashes a little harder. It looks a little more mystical, but you'll have to experiment with different types of paper. It's just a quality of the paper and the ash that it produces that becomes the variable between whether you want to use half and half or rubber. So essentially I'm taking a pencil eraser and dipping it into the rubber cement, and I'm going to make a King of Clubs appear on my forearm here, and the rubber eraser is circular, so I pick a spot right on the part of my forearm that hasn't got much hair on it. Anyway, what I do is just start to draw the little circle on the top of the club, and you can see a light reflecting on it, so you kind of know what you're drawing. Probably, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I'm essentially drawing the three little clover leaves on the club, kind of stacked up the way they are when you look at a club, and then the stem right between them with a straight line down. I know this isn't real visible on camera, but I think you can just see that I'm making now the K right before that. There we go. I've put in King of Clubs. Now, of course, when I let this dry and rub ashes on it, you'll see it appear. Okay, rubber cement dries in about 30 seconds. I'll let that dry. While I'm doing that, I'll show you now how you have the person select the King of Clubs. By the way, if you use the half and half, you just want to, it's a lot runnier than rubber cement. So when you dip it in there, you just want to have enough milk. Make sure your arm is level because it'll tend to run. So get your arm level and put just enough half and half on there so it stays in a tiny little puddle, but not much because you have to let it evaporate and dry. And you can do that by gently blowing on it. You don't want to take a hairdryer to it because it'll send the milk running down your arm. You want a nice perfect club and a nice perfect K if you're using the King, as I am. So it's just enough milk to sort of get it wet, and then you blow on it. The milk takes about 2-3 minutes to dry. So try that as well as you experiment with this trick. You're all set up to go. This will last all night. You can go to the party, go out to the bars, wherever you're going to do when you're going to do this trick. You're ready to present it. So I'll put this aside now and show you how we do what we call the force in Magic Biz. It's essentially causing someone to force a card or select a card that they think they're randomly selecting. This is about the simplest force there is, and it's actually confusing enough to make them think they're getting an actual card by free choice. It's simply done with the force card on top of the deck. That's the King of Clubs. They don't know that. You can shuffle the deck. Most people know how to do this kind of a shuffle. If you know how, your King's on top. Just make sure that goes down last. And you're ready to proceed. Now you say, okay, we've got a nice shuffle deck of cards, Tiffany. Here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to arrive at any card randomly, so just cut anywhere you want in the deck. Anywhere at all, just cut any amount off over here. Great. Now, you know where the King is. It's right here. Now, ordinarily, when you cut a deck and complete the cut, you would just complete the cut like that. But you say, I tell you what I want to do. I want to mark the exact spot where you cut the deck. So we'll put this sideways like that so we know just where you cut. Now, they don't know what the heck you mean other than they know you're keeping the cards separate. But that's the King of Clubs right there. Now, at this point, you introduce the pen and the pad. You give it to the person. You say, I want you to write down something for me. In fact, what you're going to write down is the name of the card that you cut to. And that's the point where you lift up that section, now revealing the actual top card of the deck, but they've forgotten that. They don't even know that that's the top card. Say, I want you to take the card you cut to. Go ahead, you can take a look at it and turn your back and show it to as many people as you like, and then put that card back where you got it from. Okay, and then we're just going to put the deck together. We're all done with it. Only you know the card you cut to. So psychologically, we shuffled the deck. They cut anywhere they wanted to, looked at that card. And they now have written it on a piece of paper. You then move from that point to having them crunch it up in a ball. That makes it burn faster. The rest is all presentation and sell. You light the paper. You talk about it being written there. And that should burn about 30 seconds. And you fill and build the drama and say, now it's going back to the elements. Tell you what I'd like you to do. Give me your hand, please. And if you have got your sleeve rolled down, that's the time when you now roll it up like this. Please give me your hand while that's burning. Concentrate on your card. Let's get in the smoke here. Concentrate on it. It's all sell at this point. And this is what makes the trick work, is the presentation. Sell the heck out of it. Get mystical. Get spiritual. Ask them, are you thinking of your card? Mm-hmm. You really think of it hard? Okay, if you're thinking of it, something, the whole hand's this way, something should happen. And then you take the ashes and start to rub them. And of course, you'll get the King of Clubs appear on your arm like that. Or any other information that you can glean from them that they don't know you know. It could appear on your arm, and believe me, you'll get a date. Hey, I don't know about you, but I had an uncle that was always pulling tricks, and he used to do this thing with a nickel. I don't know, Rolly, if you've ever seen this, or Dora, or Steve, but he used to take a nickel and just like push real hard and stick it to his forehead like that. Did you ever see anybody do that before? Yeah. Really? I had an uncle who did this all the time. You too? Here, show me what your uncle did when he... Of course, I don't know if I told you, I came from a very tough neighborhood. Ouch. Well, this isn't so much a magic trick as it is a great gag and gets some pretty good laughs. Although there is some trickery involved in switching the coins. The preparation of this is basically to get a nickel and some flathead roofing nails and attaching the roofing nail to the nickel. Now, there's many different kinds of epoxies out there. Of course, there's some that are made specifically for metal. That's what I used here. Put a little dab of it onto the end of the roofing nail and then just let it sit right in the middle of the coin and dry as long as the instructions on your particular epoxy tells you to, and you're ready to go. Also, if you know somebody who solders, or you have your own soldering gun, you can solder that on as well. The object is to make it look good and deadly. Of course, you do want to keep it no longer than an inch. It becomes a little cumbersome to handle as you do the actual handling of the trick, which I'll show you now. Once everything is prepared, you take the spiked coin and simply lay it right there in the crook of your third finger with the point down. You've got quite a bit of freedom of movement that way now, and you really can't see it from this side at all. So you've got that already in your hands at the start, and then of course you take a nickel and then tell the story about how in the old days your uncle used to take a nickel and think he was pretty clever, and he'd stick it to his forehead. Now, if you have any natural perspiration on your forehead, you can pretty much do this just by itself. Or if you don't, if it's a dry period, it's winter, and just give a little moisture like that, tap your forehead before you start and say, okay, so my uncle used to take this thing and stick it right in the middle of his forehead, and it would always stick, and then everybody goes, oh, yeah. And then you can say, pretend like somebody else's uncle. Oh, you had an uncle that did that too? Show me how it looked when he did it. And then just reach up and grab the thing in your fingers, between your thumb and your fingers, and hide it. Just make sure it's hidden in the tips of your fingers. And as you go down, you simply throw out that coin with the spike on it quite openly, and then just move this hand out of the way so you can hide it in your fingers. All the attention is going to be on that coin, so there really isn't much heat on this hand when you throw that down. So you just pull it off your forehead, throw that out like that, and then you can almost, if you're sitting at a table, you can drop it in your lap, and then you've got nothing to hide. Or you can just simply, as they're looking at that and laughing, just drop your hand into your pocket and get rid of the nickel. It's a great trick. When they see that there, it really causes laughter. And you can spin it around and say, of course, I came from a tough neighborhood. Get the joke line at the end. It's a great trick. Hey, here's a great little stunt to pull at the end of the month when your funds are running a little bit low, okay? Watch, I'll show you what I mean. Nothing here, but watch. And you get money, money, money! Yeah! It just keeps coming. Yeah. Well, there's nothing like a lot of money to really capture attention, and there's nothing like a lot of bills appearing out of thin air to really grab them. So if you're really flush, use 20s and 10s and throw in a couple hundreds. I'm using ones and an occasional 5. What you do is you take about a stack of 10 of them, and I like to bevel them a little bit, because what you're going to do is roll them into a real tight tube. So if you just start out with them sort of beveled at the top toward you, that kind of makes them all even out as you roll it. So you get started here as tight as you can and just roll them on the tabletop. If you need to do this real quickly, sometimes you can just do it on your hand or something. But if you got a surface, just roll it up. And there you go. So now they came out kind of even here on the end, and that had to do with me having them beveled at the start. So there you go. That makes a nice little package. No bigger than a 1/2 inch in diameter there, because otherwise it'll be unwieldy to do the rest of the trick. Now I'm going to show you how to perform it. All right, now you've got your bills all rolled up in a tight little tube. Here's where you place them. It's all in the left arm. You have to have, again, a jacket or a very loose long sleeve shirt, enough with some material to be able to hold this roll in a fold of material. Now I place it right in the crook of my arm, and I like to have the bills rolled this direction, because you're going to be rolling the material back, and if you have them the other way, then you sort of end up unrolling the bills as you put it in there. So put it in like that, and then grab the material just on the other side of it here, and pull a roll of material right over the top of it like that, and just kind of seal it in there like that, so it's covered with material. And then it's the folded arm that really kind of holds it in place. You've got quite a bit of freedom of movement, only you can't, of course, extend this arm down here, but you can with the left hand, so you can gesture and you can pick up things with the right arm, and you're not too constricted in your movements. But you don't want to be like this all night, otherwise you'll never feed yourself if you're left-handed. So let's show you how to perform this. What you do is say, hey, I want to show you something. This is really cool. And you always want to start by gesturing with your hands and using a few lines, because it subtly tells people your hands are empty without saying, hey, empty hands. But in this trick, you actually do say empty hands, because that's part of the whole dialogue. It's sort of the showy presentation. But say, hey, I want to show you something, okay? This is really cool. Watch. And then you reach over. This is, of course, got the bills over in this elbow here. So you reach over and grab the material like you're pulling up your sleeve, you know, nothing up my sleeves. You say, nothing here. And then the right hand does exactly the same thing. And as it does, we'll get a close-up of this. As it pulls, you just let these pop right out into your hand. You go, nothing here, and tug that up. So you're actually pulling up your sleeves. That's the reason for that justifies stealing the bills out of your elbow. And then you've got them right in your hand here. You just got them in a big old wad. And just bring your hands and then come right from there and bring your hands right together like this and say, and watch. And then you just start unrolling these babies. And as they unroll, start spreading them and letting them fall if you have honest friends. And then otherwise, hold on to them. And just start doing that and letting them spill out. And it looks like they're just growing out of your hands. Very magical. And then quickly get your cash. Count it before you do the trick so you get all of it back. Hey, Tiffany, I promised I would give you one of my business cards earlier, and I think this would be a good time to do it. In fact, I have a whole stack of business cards here, as you can see, and I'm going to actually let you choose any one of these you want. You see, I've got a whole stack, and I think it's always great if a person has a special card that they choose, just from some sense. Why don't you reach in and grab one that you think is kind of special, okay? And slide it out on the table, okay? Good. Now, I'm going to let you sign that card and really make it special. It is the one you took out, so it's already special, but just put your name right across the face of it, okay?
Sure.
All right. That definitely makes it Tiffany's special card, at least of my business cards. Now I want you to take that, if you would, and just place it right back inside the whole stack of cards. Here's somewhere that you like.
There.
Okay. Now you have one special card in my stack of cards now, right? It has your signature on it. Now, let me tell you something. I also have one special card in my stack of cards, but you can't recognize it from the face like we can yours, because yours has a signature. My special card is only recognizable from the back. You see, I always carry around one card that's a little different from the rest of the cards because I put a little mark on it. In fact, it's a question mark. And I do that because I never know who I'm going to give my next card to, see? So it's a question mark. What I can't figure out is why my special card happens to be the exact same special card that you wrote your name on.
Why did you do that?
Can you keep a secret? So can I. And there's your special card.
Thank you.
Compliments of me. All right, this is a great way to hand out a business card and a real stumper. And it requires a little setup, but well worth it because anytime you perform it, you're really set up to do it again. And it's a great one just to carry around with you and be able to do at the drop of a hat anytime you need to hand out a business card. Basically, you've got an equal amount of cards that, maybe about 20 of them that you put your question mark on. You can put a question mark or an X. Or another great way is just to sign your signature on the back of these cards, so you can have your signature appear on the back of the same card their signature is on. So you can pretty much put whatever you like on the other side of the card. And then you've got about 20 blank ones, ordinary business cards with nothing on them, and 20 that are prepared with the question marks. And all you have to do is put the ones with the question marks right on top, like that. So that's the setup, the question mark cards on top. And when you bring them out, you say, here, I've got all my business cards, a big stack of them here. And Tiffany, what I'd like you to do is just take one of them, and you just fan the cards toward them, and you only fan out cards down to about halfway. And you just let them take any one. And say, just take it out, but just drop it right down straight on the table. Now, you don't want them taking it out and picking it up like this. So make a point as they take it out to just drag it straight down on the table. Once they've done that, you say, you know, that's a special card because you just picked that one out of all my cards. In fact, let's make it really special and have them sign their name on the face of it. At that point, you get their signature. And all the rest is presentation about how that's totally their special card because they've made it special not only by drawing it out and singling it out of all the cards, but they've also put their name on it. In fact, what I'd like you to do, if you would, Tiffany, is just take that card and slide it back in. And of course, you make sure that they don't turn it over again. Just say, hold it right there, and now slide it back in anywhere you want. Well, now I've shoved the whole top half of the cards over to the left hand, and I'm spreading the bottom half, and they're putting it in with the blank cards that are on the bottom. So they stick it right in with all the blank cards. You say, great, now it's in there. Now, by the way, did I tell you I have a special card too, and you do all that business? My special card you can only tell from the back. See, your special card you can tell from the front because it has your signature. You flip the whole thing over, and you start spreading very carefully only the top cards until you get to the one odd one, which has the question mark on it. And then you can spread maybe a couple, 3 cards past that. But be careful about how far you spread now beyond this, because you don't want to show any of the other question marks. So that's, you'd be cautioned about that. Say, yeah, I have one card that's special for me. I always put a question mark on it because I never know who I'm going to give my next card to. And you make the joke, close up the rest of the cards, put them aside, and it's best to put them face up so you're not flashing any of the other question marks there, by mistake, and say, yeah, isn't it interesting, though, what I can't figure out is why is my special card the very same special card that you selected out of my stack? And that'll leave them with a big question mark over their head and that card in their hand. They'll never forget you. Hey, it was great having you all come to dinner. I really appreciate it. Hey, Ann, I'm sorry you have to leave so early. I wish you could stick around.
Thanks.
Here, I'll help you with your coat. Here. Yeah, okay. Actually, gee, Ann, this coat seems awfully heavy. I'm not sure what it is about this, but... Oh, Ann, very nice of you. Nice having you over for dinner, Ann.
Thank you.
Here, put your own coat on. Well, this obviously can be a whole lot of fun at somebody's expense, which we all like to do every now and then, actually in a good-natured way. It's real fun. If you're over at somebody's house, it's great because if you can find a moment to steal away with some silverware after dinner or something, and the dishwasher's, cycles over or something like that, or you don't want to obviously use dirty silverware, so if you can steal away with a few pieces of silverware and a napkin, here's what you do. Or do it at your own house if you've got guests over, and then you can bust somebody as they're getting ready to leave. However you want to do it. Here's the gag. You place about a dozen pieces of silver up at the edge corner of the napkin. Okay, now let's show you how to prepare it. First bit of business is to fold this up to about the bottom. There you go. So now you start rolling it like this, and after you get that first roll, kind of get it tight, and always pulling it tighter as you go along. And then don't go straight. Start to angle like this, because that gives you a nice little handle to hold on to as you do the bit of business, here and loading it into the coat. So that's the whole deal right there. And this, I'll show you where this goes right now. All right, now you've got this all set, and here's where it goes. It goes in the back pocket, like so. Just sits in there. The tab here is there for you to grab a hold of and pull it out, and you're ready. So this should be the side away from anybody that might be seeing this happen. So you're saying, okay, I'm going to help you with your coat. Now when you take the coat, take it with the inside toward you, which is obviously the opposite way that you do it if you're going to help somebody with their coat. But you're just grabbing it like this. I'll show you from behind. Tiffany's now out here. So I say, here, let me help you with your coat. And just go here and you just grab a hold of this and just load it right up here underneath the collar of the coat. And you're clipping it there. And it'll hold together long enough for you to be able to now say, here, let me help you with your coat. Boy, this feels heavy. Right away, get into it. Geez, this feels heavy. And now I'm going to let you see from behind here. We can get a shot of what's going on in the coat. The napkin is starting to unroll. And as you shake it, you can actually spread it a little bit and let everything fall out and let the napkin go too, because she's stolen the napkins, the silverware, the whole deal. And just shake the thing until it starts to, the silverware starts coming out and say, oh, gee, it sure was nice having you over, Tiffany. Now, one caution, it can be great if you have a hard surface that is not a nice table or something to let this stuff hit rather than the floor, because it just makes a clamor as it hits. But most people aren't going to want all that silverware falling on their furniture. But depending upon what's there, if it's whatever the furniture or on the couch or something like that, or just let it go to the floor. But if people have really nice hardwood floors, you have to consider all these things before you do the gag. It's a lot of weight and a lot of silverware hitting a surface. So make sure that you're not going to make a bigger faux pas than the person you're alleging has just made a faux pas, because then you'll have the egg on your face. Hey, did you ever have somebody walk up to you on the street and say, have you got change for $1 they need it for the parking meter or something?
Yeah.
I usually look at them and say, what do I look like, Chase Manhattan? No, I don't. I'm usually not rude. I'm usually very polite. I'll take their dollar and give it a snap like that and snap the other side, then roll the whole thing into a little cone like that and see if I can't give the guy change out of it. Make sure you get his dollar, though, okay?
Yeah.
Well, here's a trick that's best explained and best viewed from the backside of George Washington to know how it's done. Join me over here. So the setup for this with 4 quarters is you simply take the stack of quarters and they go underneath the thumb. The fingers are on the front side of the bill and holding it through the bill. Now you start out by showing the bill, and you give this a little snap like that. That psychologically tells them obviously there's no coinage here. And then you do this little snap thing, and what happens during the little snap thing is basically you transfer the coins from there to there. You want to practice this probably with one coin to start with, and then work your way up to 2, 3, and 4, because it's kind of a thick stack of coins, but you'll get to the point doing this that you're quite comfortable passing them back and forth. And then you clip the other side like that with your finger. And then you turn your hand over like this and simply start rolling the bill around in a cone like that around the coins. And then you just let them kind of slide down into the cone rather, and say, let's see if we can't make change out of a buck, and then just tip them and let them spill out like that. So, once again, you start with the coins in a stack underneath the left thumb, you do the snap, transfer to the other side, snap the other side, roll the whole thing into a cone like that, and then release the coins. And then you say, now, you want to get change out of a buck. Of course, they're watching from this side, and let the coins spill out like that, and show the coins and the bill, and take your bows. Now, there is one other way you can do this. If the 4 coins are too much, you can simply produce a coin, a single coin. I've got a $50, and you can do the same thing like that. Transfer the coin. It's a good way to practice, too. Roll it in a cone like that, and just spill out a coin, and it's still a good trick. Hey, do you guys believe in the spirit world? You know, spooks and ghosts and goblins and that sort of thing? A lot of people really feel that they're being visited by ghosts. You know, they wake up at night and say a ghost was in here or a spirit. Well, I think that there's a certain truth to it. In fact, I've been able to actually capture a ghost. I'm going to see if we can have any luck at capturing one today. They're made out of something called ectoplasm. Ectoplasm actually becomes solid and visible when it's in the dark. And when it's in the light, you can't see it. Let's see if we can't capture a ghost. Sounds like a lot of baloney, doesn't it? But
Yeah,
we'll see. I'm going to take my napkin here, and we'll fold it in one corner, and we'll fold in another corner, and fold in another corner, thereby making a sort of a trap with an opening right here. Now, I'm going to reach up and see if I can't. I think I see some ectoplasm, Peggy. Look right up there. It's right there. Do you see it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. She's crazier than I am. We're going to take that, we'll throw it inside and see if we can't find a ghost. Look, I think a ghost has come to life, actually. Watch, we'll see. Is there a ghost in there? Watch. Hey. I think we got something here.
What?
Look.
No
See
way.
how that's rolling around like that? In fact, it's I told you, it gets solid.
Oh my goodness.
I think he's in there. Yes, indeed, that's a ghost. I always know when a ghost makes his appearance, Peggy. You know how I can tell?
How?
By the look on your face.
I know.
Put the spoon right there like that. I want you to take your hand, put it right on the spoon, and see if you can't roll that ghost around a little bit.
Oh,
Do you
yeah,
feel it?
I sure can.
There's like a big cue ball in there,
What
doesn't
is
it?
that?
It's a ghost.
Oh. Scary.
I know. Here, let me see if he's there. Hello?
Yeah, he's still there.
Still there. I tell you, there's one way to make a ghost disappear, and that's if you take and scare him like that. You see? Then he'll disappear just as quickly as he appeared, and there is nothing there. He's gone.
You gotta be
Nothing
kidding.
at all. Goodbye. There he goes. Bye-bye. Thanks for visiting. Well, this is one of my favorite little impromptu tricks to perform at a dinner table or in a restaurant. In fact, in the presentation you just saw, we shot it about 4 or 5 times from different angles, and every time I did it, everybody at the table was fooled, and they still don't know how it's done, and we're having a great time with it. It's a very clever little trick that utilizes a principle that almost nobody conceives of with a completely innocent napkin. Requires a special napkin only in the sense that some napkins have a really finely rolled hem, and that's not the kind you want. You want the more traditional restaurant kind where they have them in great volume. If you look at the hem of them, that's a rather thick hem, and always at one end of this thick hem is a little inlet or outlet, depending upon which way you're looking at it from, and you can insert something right into the hem. And in this case, you're going to be putting in what I've got right here. This is I like to use these. You can find them in places that have a bar. This is like an olive skewer for a martini. It's a stiff plastic. And it's a good length too. It's a good probably 2.5 inches long. You don't want anything any longer than that. And what you do is you just insert it into the hem. Now sometimes you'll have to try one corner or the next. This one's a little tight right there, so I'm going to come over and find another one that looks kind of open. And basically you just jam it down there. It goes right down into the hem like that, and work it past the hem so it won't come out again. It's right now, it's in about 1/4 inch. The end of the stick is right here. So now if I push on it, it may not come out the end of the hem. So that's what becomes your little spirit. And inside the little trap you make, that's what you're doing. I'm going to show you how to make the fold. And obviously you can then take your spoon when that's inside and make it seem very solid as you're tapping on it. There are several other things that you can use before I go on. As I say, these olive skewers are great because they're thick plastic and quite sturdy, so you've got really good, I mean, you can push on that pretty hard as you roll it around. A toothpick in the last-ditch effort to find something will work, but I wouldn't use an ordinary toothpick. Get the kind that go in sandwiches. They usually have the little ribbons on the end that are kind of make them decorative, and that gives you a little more length. You see, that's quite a bit shorter than the swizzle stick, and it's also sharp. You want to break off the point, so you've got kind of a dull end, and then that'll work, of course. But as I said, this is short, so get the longer toothpicks. You can experiment with different things, but you want something kind of stiff to put in the corner. So now, all you have to do is have this on your lap and you're ready to perform it at any time, and it's really quite innocent. You can show it very casually. I have it, when I put it on the table, I take it out, and I always like to have it right on my left, right here. Move this other stuff out of the way. And in this hem then, right along here, this is the hem that has the stick in it right there. Now I fold that in right about to the middle, so this is right here. Now what's going to happen, that's the first fold in your little trap. I'm not going to fold the other two yet because I want to show you when you reach in, you're simply reaching and finding this and standing it up like that. So actually what happened is at the time when you do that, these two are already folded over, and then you reach in, stand it up, and just leave it there. I'll give you a shot from behind of this. Here's the last two folds right here. There's the swizzle stick right there. So I just lift up with my left hand like that, and I stand this up like that, and just drape the last two folds over the top of it, and then it'll pretty much stay there by itself. Take the last one, put it over. If it starts to fall forward, that's okay because you can pull it back, and as you pull it back, it even gets taller. So there it's there, and you say, oh look, I think we got a little ghost. And you roll it around, and the impression is this thing is like a big ball. Everybody thinks it's like a cue ball in there. And you say, wow, we've got a solid ghost in there. And then, of course, you can, when you know it's standing straight up, you can tap it like this. It's quite solid. And then roll it a little more. And now when you get to the point where you want to let the spectator roll it, you have to put the spoon over it, which is kind of fun anyway, because you don't want them to feel the point of a stick in their hand. This makes it now kind of round and reinforces that it's something big. You have to caution the person who's doing it not to roll too far. Just have them just put their hand on it. Also make sure you got a nice spoon with a good bowl on it. This one's rather shallow. But just let them put their hand on it like that and roll it around a little bit, because otherwise they'll knock it over. So go ahead, Tiffany. Just put your hand on that. You can also kind of hold the spoon sometime. Let them roll it. And they'll feel some resistance against their hand. That's not real important. They only have to do that for a couple of seconds. They'll feel some solidity there. You say, oh, wait a minute. Be careful. Because if you scare them and take their hand, shove it down on the spoon, it won't hurt their palm because they're coming down on the spoon. See, I think you scared him because he went away. And then just very openly and cleanly, nothing to hide, open up the napkin and show both sides. You don't want them to, for a minute, to suspect that there's something inside, so you can be just as clean as you possibly can. Hey Rob, I want to give you one of my business cards. I promised I would, but I have to confess I actually don't print my cards in quantity anymore because I move so often. You know, I'm changing my email address or my phone number. So I tell you what I do is I just carry this blank stock around like this, and I'll take them one at a time and I print them. Sounds kind of weird, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I carry around a real handy micro laser printer, and it comes in really handy. In fact, you're looking at it. Really handy. It's right here. See? Watch. I'll show you what I mean. First of all, I take my blank piece of stock like that, and I put it in the printer like that, and I turn it over, and I push the feed button. It just feeds the stock through. Doesn't do anything. Watch. I'll do it again. Just push the feed button. It feeds it right through. But when I push the print button, watch what happens. You see it prints it.
Whoa!
Just for you.
Thank you. I can keep that?
Yeah. Another impressive way to hand out your business card, this clever trick uses two magic principles, which when combined create a puzzling little routine, which has been popularized by a fine magician named Michael Amar. You start with about 40 cards, and these are unprepared really, and all you do is split it in half, so you've got about 20 facing one direction and 20 facing the other direction. You put them face to face, just like this. Okay, so you've got the two stacks face to face, and you pull them out and do the story about the fact that you don't bother to print your cards anymore in bulk because you're always changing your email address or your phone number. And at that point, you start fanning the top 8, 10 cards. And you have to be careful as to how to spread these because if you break down low, you'll see these cards. So you really thumb them off one at a time as you do that and say, I don't print my cards anymore, I just carry around raw stock. And then square this up like that and say, yeah, I find that when I print them, I'm always changing my address and my phone number. So what I do instead is I carry around the raw stock and I just take one card and you slide this out on the table and then get rid of the rest of the stack, put it in your pocket right away or set it aside. But again, make sure you don't spread it so they see there's printing over here on these cards. So once these are out of the way, say, sure, I just take them like this. Now I'm going to teach you two little moves here. So get a business card out, hold it in your hand, and just follow this. You lay it right in the tips of the fingers, or actually right here across the, where the fingers end. It's kind of centered right there, so that the end of the fingers is right in the middle point of the card. And you say, and it's simply a move of doing this, and it looks like you're turning over the card. You're flipping your hand over at the same time your thumb is going underneath and just flipping it over. It gives the appearance of turning over the card. So it's just a little flip move, and it looks like you've shown that side, both sides. So yeah, I take my blank card like this, and what I do is I lay it on my hand. Now you transfer it after doing this move, which is one little convincer. You lay it on the tips of the other fingers and say, I run it through my really handy-dandy micro printer. And boy, when I say handy, I mean it. This is it. You're looking at it right there. It's awfully handy. And then what you do on this little move is you simply watch the position of the card. It never turns over at all. It just goes into this position. It's staying face down as the hand turns, and then the thumb just pushes the edge like that, and it comes out the other side. So you do that twice, saying, when I run it through and I push the print button, it comes, or excuse me, the feed button, obviously it doesn't do anything. Push the feed button, it just feeds the stock through. So you can practice this a couple of times as I'm doing it. And then finally say, the only way I really get a business card, and now instead of laying it on the fingers, put it on the palm. Now when you close your fingers, it's actually flipping the card upside down, and you do the same move, but when I push the print button, now it comes out printed, and it just lands on the table, and leaves them going, that guy's pretty clever. And that's what you want when you're handing out a business card. Has anybody ever heard of the Japanese art of paper folding called origami?
Yeah.
I've gotten kind of good at it. I've got a few figures that I do. I wonder if I can borrow, actually a great piece of paper makes it very interesting as $1. So if somebody's got a $1 bill that I can borrow, that'd be great. Rob, you got one over there? Also need a couple of quarters. If we can assemble a couple of quarters, that would be great. And will you have it maybe? Oh, great, perfect. Great. This is really interesting because usually you just use a piece of paper when you do paper folding, but I've actually figured out kind of a neat way to use coins as well. What I'm going to do is place the quarters right there in the center of the bill. And I'm going to fold, as you see, the bill lengthwise over the quarters, kind of holding them right inside. And I'm going to fold the other side over like that, sealing them sort of in like a little envelope or a little sleeve. And then I'll take the end and wrap it around the quarters in like a 90-degree angle like that, and take this end and wrap it around. Oh, we're starting to see some shape. Take shape here. What's that look like to you so far, Tiffany?
That looks like a propeller.
Yeah, propeller, maybe a windmill or something like that. Tell you what, we'll use that propeller. If it has a propeller, maybe it would fly, right?
Maybe.
So let's try to see if it flies? Well, let's watch. Let's see if this flies. 1, 2, 3.
Whoa! What?
Gee, it flies really well, doesn't it? Sorry, Rob, I have no clue. Hey, let's do it again. Somebody else got another dollar? Well, this is only a fun gag with borrowed money. It certainly isn't any fun with your money, because then it's up there. The gag is, of course, somebody loans you $1.50, or you get the 50 cents from one person and the dollar from the other, and the fun is in watching them try to figure out how they're going to get their money back. So here's how you do this. The whole secret to it is something very common and very ordinary, and that is the common ordinary thumbtack. Now, it can't be a push pin, the kind that you see that have the big plastic head on it that you use to pull in and out of a pegboard. It has to be the old-fashioned thumbtack, which are still available in most stores. They come on a thing like this with a whole bunch of them in there, so you got a year's supply of helicopter bill gimmicks here. And a great place to put this is on the inside of your shoe. You can just kind of find somewhere on the heel, because I don't have a defined heel on this, but if you put it on the face of the heel, you've always got it with you, or in the side of your shoe, and then you've always got the tack whenever you need it. Now, of course, you borrow the bill, and you say, I also need 2 quarters. I always like to get the bill first, because in the action of then borrowing the 2 quarters, you've got plenty of time to jam the thumbtack through the bill. You want to put it right through the middle of the bill, like that. We come in a little closer here, and you can see that I've shoved the tack pretty much dead center, and the point is here. You then reach over and grab the quarters, and you put them right on top of George. You say, okay, this is the old ancient art of paper folding or origami, and you do the whole story like I did in the presentation, and simply fold the bill just as I did, holding the quarters in place. You now fold over the sides lengthwise over the quarter, and say that the object, of course, is to try and fold something that resembles something in the physical universe out of paper. And of course you fold this over and say, gee, that's starting to look like a little wing, isn't it? And then we'll fold this one over, and you're making a nice little tight package out of the quarters, because you want the quarters to stay in there when you throw this, which they will, because of the way you folded it. But it also provides those quarters the driving force to jam the point of the thumbtack into the ceiling. At this point now, you're all ready to do it. They really can't see if you hold your thumb right up tight against the tack like I'm doing right here. Coming in real close here, we'll see that the point is right there. You just kind of cover it up while you're holding and say, look, that just looks like, what do you think that looks like right now? Maybe this will fly. And then at that point you tip it up so that the tack is up, and you basically just balance it on your fingers like this, covering it with your thumb until you're ready to throw it so they don't see the point, and you just throw right straight flat like that. Don't give it any kind of a spin or throw it sideways. Just throw it right flat up against, and this will shoot up and hit the ceiling like that and just stay. Now, of course, the type of ceiling is very important, so it's certainly something you need to check out before you even attempt to do this. You want to make sure that you've got wood ceilings are great. These will drive themselves into a wood ceiling and stay forever. A common sheetrock or gypsum works great. Acoustic tiles, the hung ceiling works well. Now, those are the ones that have the little holes in them. So there's the off chance that the tack will go up and find one of those little holes, and it will have nothing to drive itself into. If that should happen and it falls once, just pick it up and give it another try. Usually on the second time it'll stick. But if you're throwing it into too hard of a ceiling, certainly a cement is not going to work, or plaster ceilings that are old get really hard. It's just going to bend the tack and it won't work. But you can give it a try and see the different kinds of ceilings. It's a great gag because they really do never expect for that to stick up there. And it's a lot of fun, because then you can just let them worry about how they're going to get their money back. Hey, I'd like to try something, kind of an experiment, and I'll need 2 people for that. And since you're right close to me, Steve, and you're also the only one that smokes among us,
I'm trying to quit.
Okay, all right, well, that's good. Tiffany, would you join me down here, and
Sure.
we'll try something here between you and Steve. In fact,
Okay.
Steve, if you wouldn't mind lighting up a smoke, you can hold your hands out like this, okay? Now hold them right up in the air like this, okay? Make them into tight fists, okay? All right, now Steve's going to light the cigarette. In fact, while he does that, let's keep your hands there, but let's switch places.
All right.
You get here on the footstool, and I'll come down here, because I want you 2 to do this. I'm not going to have anything to do with it but talking you through it, okay?
Okay.
I want no physical contact between any of us at all until I say so, okay?
All right.
So no touching anything, right? I'll simply talk you through it. Steve, I want you to puff on the cigarette. You don't have to smoke it or inhale. Just puff on it to get some cold, or get some ash on the end of the cigarette. And when you've got about 1/4 of an inch, then you can stop smoking, and we're done with the cigarette. Okay, that's enough. Here's what I want to happen. I want you, Steve, if you would, to knock a little bit of that cold ash on the end of the cigarette into your palm. Don't touch Tiffany. Just take a little bit of ash and put it into your palm. Good, that's all. A little more, just a tad more. Great. Put the cigarette out. We don't need it now. We're done with it. In fact, I'll put it aside so we don't have all this smoke here. Okay, no contact so far, right?
No.
Great. That's important. There's only going to be contact between Tiffany and you, and you're only going to touch her with one little finger. Here's what's going to happen. First, I want you to select a hand, and here's how you're going to do that. Whatever hand you want to use for this little experiment, leave it right where it is, and leave it in a fist. Whatever hand you don't want to use, leave it in a fist, but place it behind your back. You can make that choice right now. Whatever you do, do not take the fist from behind your back, whatever happens. Steve, what I'd like you to do now is to take those cold ashes and without touching Tiffany, dump as many of them as you can onto the back of her hand. No contact. Okay, good. Now you can clean yourself off. Great. Still no contact, right? Here's when we have our first bit of contact. We're going to find out if you two are in tune with each other. I want you to select, as she selected one hand, I want you to select one finger and place it onto the back of her hand, right where the ashes are, and then slowly begin to rub the ashes into the back of her hand.
Okay.
Raise your hand a little bit so they're closer to Steve. As you do this, both of you think and concentrate. Penetration, penetration. Keep your thoughts clean, all right? Just keep... All right, and see if something can happen, okay?
Okay.
All right, here we go. First physical contact between any of us. Concentrate. Till they're all gone. Okay? They look like they're gone?
Mm-hmm.
All right, take it away. Is that the first contact between anybody?
Yes.
Including me?
Yes.
I've been here talking through it, right?
Definitely.
Did you feel anything happen? Was there anything other than the obvious going on? No weird feelings at all?
No.
That's not a good sign. Whatever you do, don't take that hand out from behind your back. Turn your hand over now, very slowly. For the first time, open your hand and see what happened. Hold your hand.
My God.
You didn't feel anything happen? You didn't feel that happen? You know what's weird about this? I get a sense that there were more ashes on the back of your hand than are in the palm of your hand, and I think some of them got trapped in your bloodstream as they were going through your hand and have traveled down your arm, through your body, through your chest, down the arm that you've been holding behind your back since before we even started. Take that out. Let me just have a look, show everybody, see what's in your hand, if there's anything at all.
Oh my gosh, Tiffany.
Weird, huh?
Oh my God.
Well, you're about to learn my all-time favorite trick. You will really leave people talking about you. And I actually had somebody at one time, I was at a nightclub with some friends, and I performed this trick. And the girl that I did it with, where the ashes appeared in her palms, just screamed. And her boyfriend took me aside and just grabbed me and says, I will give you $1,000 right now to teach me that trick. First of all, there's a lot of very subtle psychological things that are happening. One is you set up with the ashes ahead of time on your fingers. A little dab of spit on the end of your fingers, not a big glob, just wetness. Go into an ashtray and pick up some ashes so you've got a good chunk of ash on your fingertips. But you want enough there that they're really going to show. So that's your setup. We can get a nice good close-up of the tips of my fingers. Those middle fingers have some ash on it. You know, you don't want to have it sticking out over the top, so get it on the pads of your finger. So now I'm loaded up, some time goes by, I say, hey, anybody want to see a trick, or however it comes about that you get this into you doing a trick, and say, well, we're going to need those. We're going to need somebody who smokes. Anybody smoke here? Oh, nobody smokes. Darn, maybe we can borrow a cigarette. That even makes it stronger. If nobody smokes where you are, you go borrow a cigarette. There's no ashtray. We'll also need an ashtray, so somebody get an ashtray, and all that happening makes it, everybody think you couldn't have been near ashes. So now you know you've got the cigarette, you've got the lighter, you've got an ashtray nearby. You say, Tiffany, would you help me with this?
Yeah.
Great. Tell you what, listen, Brad, will you help me too?
Absolutely.
Okay, we're going to have two of you do this experiment, okay? It's not really a trick, it's an experiment. You don't want it to sound like it's a trick, it's a little experiment. It's in psychic sort of connectedness between people. I'll tell you what, Brad, why don't you light up a cigarette? Tiffany, hold your hands out like this, which, yeah, no, over here, a little higher, okay? I want you to make them into fists, all right? The trick's over. Already Tiffany has the ashes on her hands. Now here's what happens when you load her up. I've got the ashes in my fingers right here, and I ask her to hold out her hands. Tiffany, take them out for just a second. Okay, would you hold your hands out, Tiffany? Yeah, great. Hold them right about here. Good. And I pull them out just a little bit, and you can see all I've done is loaded her up. So that the middle fingers come underneath, the thumbs are on top, and they just load the middle of the palms, pull them forward a little bit, and say, yeah, that's perfect. Now close them into fists. Tiffany, keep your hands there, but let's you and I switch places, okay? Because I want you two together, and I want to be as far away from this as possible, and I don't want to have any contact with either of you, okay? All right, so you two get close together. I'm going to, in fact, talk you through it from way over here, because I don't want any of us to touch each other, and especially, Brad, don't touch Tiffany until I tell you to. You hear what I'm doing? I'm saying there's no contact between any of us when I've already touched her, and I'm now establishing the beginning of the trick as right now, or the experiment. So when they go back at the end of the trick and they say, remember when he started? He never touched me. We started this thing and he never, they're going back to what I've told them is the start of the trick, when in fact the start of the trick was a minute before that, when she's already got the ashes in her hands. So watch the presentation, because from now on, I don't even need to go beyond this. Just play the presentation over and over and look at how I'm dragging this out and making sure that everybody is consistently reminded that there's no physical contact. In fact, in some cases, I'll do this from 5 feet away, and I'll say, I want to be so far away because I want this only to happen between you two. These are all subtle implantations of thoughts in their minds so that you're creating a reality that in fact isn't true, but when they think about it, that's the only reality they have. So it's really a psychological trick. You go through the actions of taking some cold ash, Brad, you dump it on the hand. Tell Tiffany we want to select only one hand, and here's how I want you to do that. Whatever hand you want to use, leave it in a fist and leave it right where it is.
Okay.
Whatever hand you don't want to use, leave it in a fist, but place it behind your back, okay?
Okay.
You can make that choice now. That way I'm not risking her opening her hands or anything like that and ruining the trick. So now I've controlled that situation. Now we say, Brad, take some of the cold ashes, we're done with the cigarette, and drop them on her hand or pinch them, but don't touch her. We don't want any physical contact until I tell you. So some of those ashes go there, you say, great. Now take one finger, and here's what we're gonna do. Choose it, whatever finger you want, rub them into the back of the hand. Make these all very important things. They're not important at all. What I want you to do, no matter what happens, don't move that hand from behind your back, okay?
Okay.
Slowly open your fingers, and then when she sees that, at least she won't bring this out, or hopefully she won't. If she starts to move, just say, no, no, don't move. Wow, how did that happen? Everybody's going, ooh, ah. Let them really drink that in and appreciate it before you go to the kicker and say, you know what? I don't think that's as many ashes as Brad rubbed through the back of your hand. I got a feeling some of those ashes got trapped in your bloodstream as they were going through, traveled down your arm, through your mind, through your soul, through your chest, down to the other arm you've been holding behind your back since before we started the trick. Here, you reinforce it. Would you bring that hand out? Just take a look and see if anything happened there. And when you see that, take your $1,000 and get the heck out. Let's try some magic here with an innocuous item like a toothpick, okay? I'm going to use that toothpick and my napkin. We'll place this out on the table like this, and then we'll take the toothpick and place it right in the middle like that and cover it up like so. And Manuel, if you would, I'm going to take the toothpick and let you take it right through the napkin and give it a break. Okay? Did you hear it break?
Yes.
And you felt it break too?
Yes.
All right, here, I'm going to take that and give it over to Scott. You have to find a spot there that's not broken. Did you break it, Scott? Twice. There you go. Twice, okay. And let Peggy have a shot at it there. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's broken, all right? Make sure I don't do any. Yeah. No tricky stuff here. Just watch closely. I thought you three broke the toothpick. I don't think so.
I don't think
Wow, this is great.
Oh my god.
I like that.
And it works. Well, this one will really cause some raised eyebrows because they've got a couple of their senses convincing them that they've broken that toothpick. They've broken it, they've felt it, they've heard it. They're convinced it's broken. When they see one toothpick come out of the napkin, they haven't got any explanation. And there's a good reason for that. Nobody ever thinks of the darned Hims as being the secret hiding place for the other toothpick. Just like we showed you in the ghost trap, you use the hem, and this time you do put a toothpick inside instead of a swizzle stick. It goes right down in, and again about 1/4 of an inch past the very end or the edge of the handkerchief, and that's all you have to do. Of course, you can set this up in advance. You can easily grab some toothpicks as you walk into the restaurant. They're usually right there on the counter. snatch one and hold it in your hand and bring it to the table, and then anytime that's convenient while you've got your napkin in your lap, you can thread it through there and say, hey, I'll show you a trick. Now, I like to just bring it up in the corner here near my left hand. You can actually put it in any corner as long as you know where the toothpick is and how you're going to fold it. And the way I've worked, that works for me, is I have it right here on the long edge on the left side, because then I take the toothpick, and what's great about this is if you say, I want to show you a trick, but I need a toothpick, like you don't have one, right? You don't want to bring out the toothpick. You can borrow somebody else's. You say, I wonder if they have toothpicks here, and send somebody to the cash register. They bring one. That just, again, psychologically reinforces that you don't have another toothpick because you had to go to the counter just to get the one that you're using for the trick. Little psychological advantages that really make the trick stronger. So you find a toothpick from somewhere and say, okay, I got one toothpick. Actually, you have two. So again, a psychological way to convince them that there's only one. I've got this one toothpick. We're going to put it right here in the middle. And I put it in the center and slightly angled so that when this one comes up over the top of it, it'll be about the same angle as the one you've placed in the, although it's not really important, but why not? Put it about the same angle, because here's the toothpick here, here's the toothpick underneath. You go over it about 3 or 4 inches, covering it, and then the other corners come in. Now, all you want to do is visually remember that here's the one you're going to break, here's the good one. You don't want to grab the good one by mistake. So you know just about where that is as you cover it up, and then after you've made your little pocket there, you grab the one that's in the corner, and you can feel for it. Say, oh, the toothpick's in there somewhere, and you're grabbing the one in the hem. And say, oh, here it is, and you literally put it in their hands. You let someone reach up and grab it. Tiffany, can you run in here? I'm going to have you break this. So I'm controlling the toothpick right now, and I'm going to let somebody break it. And I'll say, Tiffany, here's the toothpick. Can you feel it? And as they, of course, do. And you say, you really got a hold of it, right? Now, the other one's just in there floating around, and let them break it. And you'll hear it, and everybody at the table will hear it. You can even say, be quiet, you'll hear it, yeah? And then take it out of their hands, but make sure you don't do anything suspicious. Say, you break it too. Give them another part, and that person breaks it, and then breaks again. You say, so that's really broken. Now, you really want to very carefully handle yourself so it looks like you're doing nothing suspicious. Always be showing your hands empty, saying, okay, so you've broken it in 3 places. Watch, I want you to make sure I don't do anything sneaky, because you always want to impress that when you're not going to do anything sneaky, and just pull these back and say, you know, I thought you 3 broke the toothpick, and just let that thing drop out like that and show both sides as cleanly as you can. No one ever suspects the hem of the napkin, and then once you've shown it both sides cleanly, you can just drop it in your lap or leave it on the table, and they'll look at that toothpick and say, all right, where's the glue? Where's the glue? It's a great trick. Hey, Manuel, I just thought of something. I still owe you $1 from that football game when we bet the other night, and I didn't want to welch on the debt, so I brought with me some of the fresh bills I just recently printed out. You know, just want to make sure you get your money. You deserve it. All right. Good. Hey. Well, this again falls in the category of not so much a magic trick, but a great gag to have and really, really make an impression on people. It's a lot of fun, and boy, you'll really tickle a lot of people and see some weird, suspicious looks when you pull out a pad of dollar bills. Believe me, most people will not think this is real money, and that's what's the fun of it. When you're in your car, you have this in the glove box. Whenever you tip the valet or the guy at the car wash or at the waitress at the restaurant, perhaps the local traffic cop that pulls you over and say, officer, what would it take to get out of this? No, don't do that. Don't do that. Anyway, I'm going to show you how to make this. It, in fact, is real money. If you go to a bank, a big bank, they'll have usually a customer service or a department where the merchants come in and do all their banking, and they frequently have new bills. Now, you really need brand new, crisp bills. And you might have to look around. They'll have them in 5s and 20s, depending on how flush you are at the time when you're ready to make this. Of course, it's very impressive if you can use 5s or 20s. But people like me, I like to stick with the 1s. And also, it's more versatile because you can use it to tip people. What you do is you get a stack of about 50 bills, you know, what would look like the size of a normal pad of paper. And these are all consecutive serial numbers. They're brand new, they're crisp, and you place them between 2 chunks of wood. This is just ordinary, I don't know what the 1 by something, 1x4s, but whatever you got, as long as it's got a nice straight edge on it, and you sandwich it in. If you look right here on this edge, come in close here if you will, and you'll see that you put the bills right in there, and right even with the edge, and just knock it down nice and even, and then take some duct tape and wrap one end. You want to get it really good and tight, and then have a friend push down, let this hang over the edge of the table, and push down as it's in there, and wrap the tape around there like that. And once you've done that, you can stand it up on its edge like this. And then you need to go to any good stationery store or printer can give you what's called padding glue. Padding, P-A-D-D-I-N-G, like making a pad of paper. And you just take a little artist brush or a little fine paintbrush and just spread it on the top of the bills. And it takes, takes about 20 minutes to dry. You can blow on it, get a hairdryer or whatever. Maybe do it twice so you get double coverage. And that's it. Now, I've taken it and colored mine. They used to make this padding glue in red colors and green colors, and you can find that that's great. After I did mine, because it was clear, I just took a permanent marking pen and made it red because people associate that with a pad of paper. So if you don't have it in colors, just color the top of it. You're all set to go. Here's another product that's not padding glue, but it's a bulk multi-purpose adhesive self-leveling formula. Self-leveling means it just sort of seeks a nice even level when you put it on the top. But whatever you want to try, go to a stationery store, tell them you want to make a pad of paper, and they'll usually get you the right stuff. And you're all ready to go and have a whole lot of fun with this. Hey, I don't know if anybody plays the stock market here, but there's no question the stock market has never been bigger than it is now. I mean, it is just booming. Have you been watching the news and seeing that? I mean, it's like, I don't know, 10,000 or something like that. So this is a great experiment for someone who plays the stock market, because everybody would love to know how to pick a stock. I mean, really pick one that's going to go, right? We're going to try something that involves picking the right stock. So, Manuel, you ever played the stock market at all?
No.
Oh, that's all right. We're going to give you your first chance to play the stock market, okay? Why don't you come up here if you would. What I'm holding here is a clipping. It's actually a full column from the Wall Street Journal, and it's the mutual fund section. And I'm actually going to show this over here to everybody watching. We have about, I would guess, anywhere from 250 stocks here on this one side alone. And on the other side, there's probably another 250 in very fine print. Somebody's making a whole lot of money out there, I'm sure. Hopefully you'll make some here, huh? Wouldn't that be great? Here's what I'm going to do. Before we go any further with this particular clipping from the Wall Street Journal, I've made a prediction. I'm talking about picking a stock. Yep. I actually have made a prediction about something that might happen here. And tell me if that envelope is sealed.
Yeah, it is.
It is? Okay. Great. Now, I want you to verify that there's no way that that seal can be broken by taking this pen and writing your name right across the envelope and the seal. So if anybody were to break the seal, and right here, make sure you go across the seal. Great, good. So we got a mark there. So if anybody were to break that seal, you'd know about it, right?
Yeah.
All right, put it up here in your pocket if you would, so nobody can get at that. And I'm going to introduce one more little item, and that is a scissors, which I have buried in my backside. Now, I'm going to turn over the scissors to you, Manuel, and the objective here is for Manuel to pick a stock. So here's how I'm going to do that. If you take the scissors in your hand, I'm going to hold the column here. I want you to hold it out like this, parallel to the floor. We want a nice straight cut. And what I want you to do is move the scissors up and down, just like this randomly, until you feel you've got a perfect stock. Keep it nice and level to the floor, though, okay? Nice and even. There you go. We want a straight cut, so we'll know that we're getting one stock. Anywhere along, the whole top to the bottom, anywhere you want.
Here.
That's it. Give it a cut. Great. Now, I want you to pick that up. I don't want to touch it, okay? Go ahead and grab it. Great. Now, I just want anybody to know you could have stopped anywhere along the length of this. You could have stopped here as well, right?
Yep.
That's the place that you picked.
Yep.
Okay. We're done with this. We're done with the scissors. You have the prediction.
Yeah.
You have the clipping where you cut.
Yeah.
Now, do you wear glasses when you read?
Sometimes.
Well, I have some here in case you need them. There's a very fine print. This is a little magnifier. I want you to look at the top, right where the clipping is, where you cut, and find, now, by the way, you have either side, so you have another choice. Which one of those stocks you want. It can be one side or the other. So you choose one stock, and if you can't read it, I want you to read it out loud and see what it says right where you made the cut, the one that's closest to the top.
Latin America.
The exact letters.
Yeah, Latin ama, Latin
Oh,
ama.
Latin AM.
Uh-huh.
I'll tell you what, watch what I do here. I'm going to take this out of your pocket. Make sure that I don't, is that still sealed? You verify it's still sealed, right? Okay, here's what I'm going to do. We're going to find out now for the first time what's in this envelope. Now, I've done nothing but open the envelope, right? I haven't put anything in or anything like that, right? Okay, I'm taking out something. Has some writing on it. I want you to draw it out. Turn it around.
Wow.
Is that what it says on the top?
Exactly.
Exactly
Latin
what it says?
Yes.
How in the world did you know just where to pick that stock? I think you should call your broker. I'd call mine, but I just end up broker when I do. So
That's
thank you
good.
very much, Manuel.
welcome,
Wow, I don't know how he
welcome.
does it. I'd head for the stock market
good.
right now. Yeah. All right, the success of this trick works on some very clever principles. And I'm going to show you now how to set it up. You need to get a Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal is the best newspaper that's out there for getting the kind of clipping that we need of stocks. Many of the local newspapers or even the big cities don't have as good a newspaper for our purposes as that newspaper, and you can get it on practically any newsstand. And if it's not in your town or little town, whatever, just go to a newsstand and they'll can order it and you can get it a couple days later. But it's really great. Turn to the mutual fund sections. There's a section called Mutual Fund Quotations. And there's usually several pages of these, and it's very fine print and just lots and lots of columns. What you want to do is you want to get one column that has no big print on it other than the very, 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 very fine print that you'll see on the column here on the table. If you look at this here as I scroll it through the shot, everything there is fine print. There's no display ads. There's a couple of bold lines there, but still so fine you can't see it. The reason for this is because you're actually not holding this clipping right side up when you're doing it. You're holding it upside down. That's all I'll tell you about that right now. So thus, anything on either side that's not fine print or a picture or something like that would, of course, destroy that illusion. Now I'm going to show you how to do the setup, and then I'll show you the performance of this. Okay. Go through and find one clipping exactly as I've described that has fine print on both sides, the columns, the line on both sides, and then cut that out carefully so you've got the nice long thin strip. Now here's what you'll be doing with it. All right, we'll come in close here. Your prediction that you write on the index card actually it comes right near the top of the column. You're going to cut off the top of the column here with a scissors. So you want to find a stock. Just pick one that's 4 or 5 down. Let's go to the other clipping right next to it. Good. Now in this case, I've already cut the top of the column off, the inch or so at the top, and I picked one so that the only really legible stock here is this one that starts INTMN. So if someone were to read that and I said, pick the top stock there where you made that cut, he would read the INTMN, and then on the other side, you want to be able to align a stock that's legible. In this case, it's SCM. So actually, that could be cut a little higher. So find 2 right near the top where when you make that cut, the 2 stocks are there, because those are actually the ones that he'll have his choice, your volunteer, to be able to choose from to get your prediction. So once you've done that, now go to the bottom of the column. There's usually some blank space to the bottom of the page. Just cut that off, and it doesn't make any difference how you cut that. Just cut it straight across. Now, let me show you how this works. You've got your 2 stocks at the top of the column. Now, this might be confusing you so far because you say, wait a minute, he doesn't cut the top of the column, he cuts in the middle. Well, don't get ahead of me. Just trust me, I'll show you how that works in a second. Write both of those stocks on a piece of paper like this. Now, you remember, Manuel used the Latin America one. There was also the INT one in the envelope. I just never pulled it out. Here's the envelope. It was in there all along. So I waited for him to make his choice, and I simply pulled out the one that I wanted. And I just did it in alphabetical order. I put the one closest to A on top as I was holding the envelope, so I knew which one to pull out. That's just a simple memory system. And then if you remember, I got it halfway out, and I said, okay, now draw that out the rest of the way. And he took it out, of course, leaving the other one inside. Very clever. No one ever knows you've got a second one in there. Just ditch it once they take this one out. Now, let's get into the performance of this thing. You've got your envelope already stuffed with these in there, ready to go. It's sealed. That's in your pocket. This is cut right where you want it, matching the predictions in the envelope. You've got your scissors, and you're ready to perform it. I'll show you how you managed to get them to think this is where they cut right now. All right, here's how all of these elements come together now into performance. You have a scissors, you have the stock column here, you've got your prediction here in your envelope, in your pocket. It's sealed. You can write prediction on there. Tiffany will sign her name on this. In this case, this is the one Manuel had. And of course, you've got your pen in your pocket as well. So here's how you start. Now remember, this is the one. There's nothing on this column that can tell you what's the top or the bottom. You can show it. You can say, you know, tell the whole story about the stock market being good. There's a million stocks on this one column alone. And you can let people examine it, or, you know, just don't make a big issue out of it. Just let them see that there's a whole lot of stocks on here and a lot to choose from, because that's what sells us at the end, is how out of all those stocks could he have chosen the one. So you say, here's what I'd like to do. First, before we get to this, I have a prediction, and then you have this signed across the flap, and make a big deal out of the fact that someone's got, going to hold on to this, and you give that to her to hold on to. There's no way I can get into that. And now what I'd like to do is have you pick a stock. I'm going to give you the scissors. And now as you're doing this, say, what I want you to do is just open the scissors. I've just flipped the stock column over. Watch, I just say, and what I'd like you to do is just take the scissors and hold it out here. Go ahead,
Okay.
hold it parallel to the floor. It's now upside down. Remember, what was the top? This is where my prediction is. It says Latin AMA on one side, and it has the INT stock on the other. It's right here. I flipped this over very casually. No one's seen it. I'm holding it upside down, and this is why it's important you can't tell right side up from upside down, because no matter what side this is looked at, anybody within a foot away is not going to be able to tell, even Tiffany. And just to added insurance, I hold it edgewise toward her. She's looking at the edge instead of the face or the back. So she's the closest one to it from me. I say, what I want you to do, go ahead and hold it in your hands as though you're going to cut. Hold it parallel to the floor, and you make a point of that because you say, I want a nice straight cut across one stock. You do. You don't want an angled cut because it won't match the top. And because that's the piece that's going to fall to the floor, is what's really the top. So you say, go ahead, now I want you to move it up and down until you get a feeling that you've picked a good stock, and you're helping her hold it level to the floor, and then you let go. Say, anytime you want, you can go all the way from the top to the bottom, give it a cut, and do so now, anytime you want. Now, at that point, that'll flip to the floor, make a big issue out. I don't want to touch that. Would you go get that, Tiffany? Now remember, what's happened is the top of that column that said Latin AMA and INT on it is on the floor. When I say, would you pick that up and take a look at the stock that you cut to, she is very naturally going to turn it right side up, because that's how you read something, right side up, and she's going to read the top of the column, which was the top all along. It says, in fact, you say, tell you what, remember, out of all those stocks, there's two choices here. So you can make a free choice now. Do you want to pick on this side, or do you want to pick on this side? I don't want to have any influence on you. And she'll pick one of those two stocks. And meanwhile, you can either turn this upside, you don't even have to turn this upside down, just throw it away, because no one's going to see you're holding, get rid of that. The rest is all sell, because the trick is basically over. Say, which one do you want to choose there?
I'll have this side.
Okay, now sometimes this person can't read that because it's such fine print. I always like to carry, let's see, where have I got it? One of these little pocket magnifiers you can buy in a stationery store for about 99 cents, the size of a credit card. And if they can't read it, because you're building the drama, and there's nothing worse than they say, I can't read, I need my glasses or in my purse. So, you give them this if they can't see it, and they'll read it off. They'll choose the one they want, Latin AMA. Now, you know right away you're going to go for the one that's furthest away from you in the envelope, because the one on top is the I that starts with INT. So you just rip it open and reach in and grab the one furthest away. I put my finger under there, drag it halfway out, say, would you take this prediction that I made out of the envelope? And of course, they slide it out, read the stock, it matches, and everybody's jaws drop. It's an impossibility for you to have been able to, actually for her to have been able to pick the stock that you knew she would pick before you came here. That's how it works. It sounds complicated, but it's really very easy. It's just you have to understand the whole upside down flip-flop thing, and it works by itself. Enjoy. Hey, Melinda, what I'd like to do is leave you with one of my cards before we separate today. Is that all right?
Great.
But I have my cards with me, and I thought we might try a little experiment. There's nothing closer to any person, I think, any personal possession they have other than their name. I mean, that's really a personal thing. Wouldn't you agree with me?
Yes,
Your
definitely.
name, Melinda, you've been living with from now 25 years, and I'm sure 28, okay.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to place out one card rather, for each letter in your name, all right? M-E-L-I-N-D-A, so that would be 7
Yes.
cards. Now, actually, I have to confess, I actually slipped away a little earlier and wrote a letter of your name on the backs of these 7 cards. The object here is for you to see how close to your name you really are, and see if you can't determine which one of these cards has the M, which has the E, which has the L, and the I-N-D-A. So I'm going to let you tell me, just by looking at them, which one has those letters. So why don't you just pick out the one that you think has the M on it.
This one.
That one? Okay. I'm going to take that and write a big M right there. All righty, and we'll take and place this here. And you think this one has the E?
E.
You're ahead of me already. She knows where this is going. There's the E. Now tell me which one has the
Let's
L.
try this one for L.
This one here. Are you getting some sense from the cards, or are you just guessing here? Let me mix them up again. And
More or less guessing.
all right, well, that's
Let's
all
try
right.
this
Let's
one.
see what happens. This would be the I then, right? And how about the N?
Right here.
This one over here. We'll take that. We'll try the N on this one. And of course, which one do you think has the D? And it's getting really hard now here. I mean, there's only one left, right? This one would have the A, and we'll leave that right on the table.
Okay.
And we'll just see how well we did here. Now, you said that this one had the D here, right? And this one had the N, and this one had the I, and this one was the L, and this one was the E, and this one was the M. Well, let's try and see how you did on that first one. When you said the M, ooh, you were right. You guessed the M. That was maybe a lucky guess. Let's see how you did over here on the E. Well, what do you know? You got the E and the M. That's interesting. On the L, I think you, oh, you scored again. This is amazing. Let's see how you did on the I. You got the I, and I think you got the N too. You also got the D, and of course the last one was the A. Very well done, Melinda. Don't ever tell anyone how you did that.
I can't believe that.
All right, this is a great trick and will really create a strong impression on a potential business client, someone that you really want to remember you. It's a great way to give out your business card. It uses up quite a few of your cards, but it's well worth it. So keep this in mind as you watch how I explain this, and know that the value you receive in return for the expenditure of paper is something that will come back to you many times over in the form of them remembering who you are. You're going to start out by laying out a number of cards on the table. I'm going to make this very clear because it'll look confusing. It's really not if you follow along here. The one thing that you really want to do is keep the cards all facing the same direction. Now on this card, you'll notice we have a little top hat here, so I've got all the top hats at the top of the card. You take the person's name and you write in big letters across the face everything but the last letter of their name. That one's missing here. So in the case of Melinda, I didn't make an A card. You'll see why. On the back of the cards, now when I flip them over, I'm flipping them over side for side rather than end for end, because now that turns the little top hat in another direction. Just turn them over like this and write the same letter. So you now have Melinda written on the face and the back of each one of the cards. Now, you want to take 7 cards, because Melinda has 7 letters in it, and you put an A on the back of each of the cards. Again, the top hats are at the top, so everything's facing the same direction, and each one of these has nothing on the printed side of the card, only the A's you've put on the back of the card. That's what you need to get started, except for one other thing. You want some regular cards that have no writing on them, and you have a stack of about 10 or so of these, and here's how you set it all up. All of these have the little top hat over here. I'm simply going to take about half of them and rotate them so that they're back to back. Top hat's still at the same end. Okay? Now, here's how we set it up. I'm going to take the M, place it right here on top, facing the same direction, printed side up, then the E, then the L, then the I, then the N, and the D. All right? All the top hats again in the same place. Flip the whole thing over, and we'll do all this with all the A's too, and you just assemble them and you're ready to go. This all goes into your pocket. You can put a rubber band around it if you like. Remember, the top hat's the same direction. This is the side that will be the bottom. You don't want anybody to see the letters on the bottom, so when you take it out of your pocket, if you've got them with a rubber band around it, here I've got one right here, everything will hold together rather nicely. And you say, oh, I'd like to give you one of my cards. But I've got an interesting concept here that I'd like to get across to you, and that is of figuring out something without knowing the answer to it ahead of time. And I'll tell you what I mean here. I'm going to place some cards on the table because I actually slipped away and wrote your name on the back of these cards, M-E-L-I-N-D-A. There's a letter of your name on the back of one of those cards. And I'm going to have you figure out which one has which letter. So let's mix them up like this. And I say, Tiffany, if you would, actually you're Melinda. Melinda, if you would, tell me which one of these cards has the M on it.
This one.
Okay. Now remember, all of these have the A on it. These are the 7 A cards. You're going to write whatever she says. This one's the M. the top of the letter goes toward the top hat because that's the way I wrote the A. So you say, okay, that one's the M. Good, we'll put that right here. Which one is the E?
This one.
All right, this one's the E. You do the same thing with this, and then you put the top there, and then she goes on and tells you every single one of them, M-E-L-I, and then N. You write the letters. It's pretty much the same as you wrote them before. D. Oh, you want to make sure the top hat's that way. D. And then watch what happens. You say, of course, it leaves only one for the A, doesn't it? Now, if you'll notice what I did with my hand, I turned it over, and I said, of course, that's obviously going to be the A. Now, there's the D that she thought I just wrote a minute ago right there. So you turn the hand over, just drop it like that, and say this one is naturally the A because it's the last letter of your name. It's the only one left. And at that point, you're now going to deal all of these out on the table, and the trick is basically done. Say, okay, you said this one was the A. I put it over here because I want her name to be spelled out. You said this was the D. You said this one was the N. You said this one was the I. You said this one was the L. And you're dealing all the ones that match now right onto the table. And, of course, there's all the blank ones underneath that you had set up at the start. That's why you had the cards back to back when you started stacking them up. And then the rest is all cell. You say, let's see how you did on the M. Hey, what do you know? This worked all the way across the board. You got them all right. And they should be very impressed with that, the way that they were able to determine which card was which without ever seeing the other side. All right, an added note here, if you were watching closely, you saw that the A was upside down, and it is an error that can happen, and it happened to me. It doesn't ruin the trick because the A still matches, but it's always nice if they come out. The reason that happened is when she pointed out which card had the A in it, and I was doing it rather quickly, if you remember, I wrote it upside down. It doesn't ruin the trick, it still works, so that's something to watch for, but you'll see it was even quite successful the way I did it. Hey, has anybody ever heard that old expression, East meets West and never the twain shall meet? Yep. Yeah. I've kind of modified a little bit. It's never the twine shall meet. And I'll explain that because I happen to have a piece of twine here with me, a loop of twine. And what we're going to do is take this scissors and this piece of twine and see if we can make something happen. Thank you, Carrie, for taking that piece of scissors. I just said we're going to take this scissors, and she reached in and grabbed it. Thank you. Then can I borrow something from you, your other hand?
Oh, sure.
That's great, because here's what we're going to do. I'd like you to take this piece of twine, just hold it about like that, okay?
Right here?
Yeah,
Okay.
good. I'll take the scissors from you now, and we're going to cut that right in the center like that, and just kind of even up the ends like that. So we have two pieces of separate twine. Now what I'd like you to do, give me those, and hold your hand out like that. Good, and make a little fist, because you're going to grab the middle of the string like that. So we got two ends hanging down and two ends sticking out at the top, right? Let's see if we can't make something magical happen. Come in nice and close where we can see this. And I'll take these two ends, and east meets west, and never the twine shall meet.
Did that right in my hand.
Yeah! And it's one piece of string, and that proves that old adage wrong. Well, the secret to this really clever mystery all lies in the inherent properties of something as ordinary as packing twine. It's not gimmicked. The actual twine itself is ordinary twine that you buy from the store, but the type of twine you buy is very important. There's many different types, but this is very readily available. Go to the big hardware stores, and you'll see a number of kinds of strings and twine. This is called packing twine, and what makes this unique, or the kind of twine you want to use for this, is that it's actually many strands of smaller threads that are all interwoven and wrapped together. I'm going to open up the end here. We'll get a tight shot, and you'll see that there's basically about 7 individual strings that make up this one piece of twine. And that is what makes this trick work. As I'll show you here, we can get a tight shot there on the end. You'll see there are 7. Now, there are some of these twines that have 3, and that's not enough to make this successful. It needs to have multi-strands. And the 7 works very well. That's the secret, and I'll show you how it works. You cut off about, and this will last you, of course, 1 or 2 lifetimes, depending upon whether you believe in reincarnation. I'm going to cut off about 2 feet of twine here and show you how this works. Before I fix the ends, and you'll see why the ends come into play, I'm going to show you what the real secret is. You start to separate the twine. You get about 4 strands on one side and 3 on the other. Try and split it right in the middle, and watch what happens when you let the ends hang. And you start to gently pull about 1.5 inches to 2 inches, and then let go of them and let them just wrap up on their own like that. They'll start to twist, and then twist them into back into a shape like that. Actually help them along, get them into a nice, tight, compact little strand. You've now made 2 new ends to this piece of twine, or what look like ends, and they're actually joined right there. Let me open this up so you can see what it looks like. They're not really ends at all. They are, in fact, the middle of the piece of twine. So what appear to be ends that you've just created in the middle actually are the center of a solid piece of string. So I'm going to pull those out again now. We'll let them wrap up. And now, what do you do to the other end? That was what the loop is that you cut off. So what you do down here on this end, actually, by the way, before I go any further, you can come out with 2 pieces of twine just like this and do the trick without cutting the loop. And it works, just as effectively. Maybe not quite as cool because you've just got 2 pieces of twine that you can simply throw on the table and say, here, look, a couple of pieces of twine, and you're ready to perform it just now, and you let Tiffany or the person hold on to it, and you can make them join. But if you want to go the extra step to prepare this, you take the actual ends of this, and you fray the ends a little bit so the threads are opened up. And then you get one of these things at a stationery store called a glue stick. And that's got this kind of half solid, half liquid kind of glue. And you just rub it across and get a big glob of that glue on both ends. Get some over on this one, like that. And then cross them at about a 90-degree angle. And then just start rolling one into the next and twisting them. Sometimes you have to wet your fingers a little bit because that glue gets a little heavy. And your saliva actually kind of thins it out a little bit. And you just kind of roll it and twist it as you go along. And you've actually made a loop on the bottom like that. I'm doing it rather quickly here, so I'm not going to take a great deal of time to make sure it's really pretty. But then you let that sit for about 10 minutes, and it kind of solidifies. And now you're ready to do the trick. You've got your 2 ends. You've got what appear to be a separate or a single piece of twine. And here's the loop at the bottom. You can actually throw it out on the table quite innocently. No one suspects that anything other than what they see. And if you've noticed, I'm very free with the way I handle this. These ends look just like ends, and I say, Tiffany, will you do me a favor? I'd like you to hold on to this right about. I'm giving her literally the gimmicked end right here. Just hold it right there.
Okay.
And the ends are sticking out. You take out a scissors and say, let's cut that loop. And you go down here and cut the loop. And just for good measure, you cut off all the stuff with the glue on it like that in the act of evening them out and let them sort of fall away. Say, great. Now I take it from them, and actually when in the action of doing that, it flips it over. Say, great. What I'd like you to do is just grab that about the center like that.
Okay.
In your fist. And don't squeeze too hard, just enough to hold it there. And then you spread these like this. They're sitting here looking at 2 ends down here. Come a little tighter here, you'll see that the ends are right here. And there's 2 ends, of course, hanging over. And then say, all we have to do, now you want to pull evenly because you don't want to start making this buckle like that, and so it goes up like that and shows, this. So you actually pull it evenly from both sides, and as it starts to go up, and when it gets in her fist, those 2 little ends will snake up like that, and then snap it like that, and with a good hard tug, it'll make all the evidence go away that was in the middle, and then you can give it a couple of snaps and hand it out like that, and they will definitely be mystified. Here's another nice way to actually restore it. You can say, there we go, here's 2 pieces of twine. Let me see if we can make it 1 piece. I have a very fun way to try this. I like to tie a knot, you see, with my teeth. Actually chew them together. Not tie a knot, just chew the last little bite like that, you see, makes it back into one, and say, you can keep that for a souvenir. And they go, no, thank you. So that's another way you can restore it rather than pulling it through their hands. And I tell you, it's definitely worth the price of a ball of twine. They'll be talking about you for quite a while after they see this. That's the guy that can chew a string together. No. Hey, it was great having you all over here today. Ouch. Ooh. Boy, I think I got something in my shoe. I gotta tell you, occasionally I pick up a little stone in my shoe. I think I got one there. Yeah. Oh, that's gonna feel much better, I'm sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's much better. Yeah. This gag is a whole lot of fun, contributed by my friend Brad Goodham. He said to show them this trick and they'll love it, so I'm going to show you right now how it works. It's very fun to do. You can do it inside or outside, any place. It's even funnier inside because you're obviously nowhere near stones, and just the visual of a stone coming out of your shoe when you're indoors at an office building or something is really funny. But you know, you're just walking through a parking lot, you can stop and go, oh, hold up, guys. So here's the deal. You've picked up fairly good-sized stone, one that you can hold in your hand fairly easily and comfortably and not be seen. Try and get something that's not got a lot of sharp edges. It's kind of rounded and it kind of rolls around and it's not going to catch because you're actually loading it into your shoe, and I'll show you how that happens now. So you've got that in your hand, basically held at your side, and you say, ooh, ow, ah, geez, something here. And what you do is you raise your leg as high as you can up on your thigh, and then you angle your foot from a downward pointing position to an outward pointing position. You kind of have to go as far as you can there. The reason for that is the right hand is now going to grab the heel of your shoe, and you want the rock not to show. So you don't want to grab it from above like this. Get your hand behind so that the rock is behind the back of your shoe. And then it's kind of hard to stand here like this. And then you just pull it off. Now, if I'm wearing loafers, so that's easy. If you know you're going to do this with lace shoes, then of course what you want to do is loosen your shoe so that you can pull it off rather quickly. So here we go again. Ooh, ah, ooh, gee, there's something here. And then you got of course, the rock back here, and you simply pull the heel like this and let the thing just, as you rotate the shoe up, let it drop right down into the shoe. Now, I'll give you a shot of that from behind. Turn around here and put it back on. Here's the rock. And here comes the shoe is up. Remember, the foot is pointed outward. I grab here and just let it fall into the shoe like that. So now I'm going to turn around when you're in this position, and then you tip it up and present it just like you were a shoe salesman saying, how would you like to try these? You say, you know, I pick up these crazy pebbles every now and then walk over to somewhere where you're not going to damage the furniture. Or just let it drop on the floor and let it have a big clang as it rolls out of the toe of your shoe and hits the floor. Don't let it land on your toe, though. So one more time in performance so you can see it happen. Here we go. You say, ooh, ow, hey, gee, there's something in my shoe here. It rolls down into the shoe and simply roll the shoe up like that. And it's great because sometimes it'll roll right down into the toe, so then you see it come out like that from apparently in the toe of your shoe and drop out. A lot of fun. By the way, that doesn't have to be just a stone. Anything you can pick up nearby that's, that's kind of big and bulky. It doesn't always have to be a stone. Just find something sitting on someone's desk and, say, hey, what's this in my shoe? Oh, gone. It's a big old paperweight or something like that. It works with anything. It's just a lot of fun. Enjoy. Tiffany, let me show you something with some money, okay?
Okay.
Now, when it comes to money, do you like coins or do you like folding money?
Folding money, definitely.
Yeah, definitely worth a little more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me show you something with a little folding money here, okay? Watch.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, just like that. Cool,
That's great.
Huh? Well, this is truly an astonishing eye popper. When anything moves by itself, it's really, really a delight to watch. And of course, watching a bill fold itself and change directions the way this does is very magical. I'm going to show you now how to prepare it and how to present it. The whole mechanics of this relies upon a very, very fine fishing line. This is about a 2 to 4 pound, low visibility, low glare fishing line. It's sometimes called camouflage, although the camouflage line has a little bit of color to it, so you might experiment with both that and a clear line. The objective is you want to get a fine line that doesn't reflect much light, so it kind of just disappears against any background. Now, if you get a little look here, I'm going to flash some light on it. You can see how fine that is. I'm now going to show you how that's threaded through the bill and how to perform it. If you'll let me put this one aside, I actually have one of these bills rigged up with a very visible piece of red yarn, and just to let you see that it is threaded in a kind of an unusual manner, I'll take you through this and show you exactly how it's done. You'll notice that the thread runs from the bottom of the bill to my belt here. You have it secured here on the belt loop, and then it runs from there to the bill. And again, of course, this is bright red line just for the purposes of illustration. I just want you to see, before I show you how to thread this, kind of what happens here. As I place the line coming out of the bill right here, After the threading through the bill, it just goes between these two fingers. You can see right underneath, it comes out the back and then goes directly to my belt loop. So watch what happens. The bill is sort of flat on my hand. And as I move my hand forward, see, all of the action happens in me pushing my hand forward. The threading of the bill actually causes it to do all the closing. And now I'm going to show you exactly how to thread that bill yourself and have the bill fold in your own hand. Here we go. You want to start out with as crisp a bill. In fact, go to the bank and get a brand new bill. You know, they usually get new bills in, and it looks great with a 5 too. They frequently have 5s and 20s there, but you want a brand new crisp bill. And then actually I'm going to be laying the bill out here as you're seeing it. Start with the bill facing you with George Washington up, and then you can sort of follow along. I'll have this upside down for me so it looks the way you're viewing the bill on the TV. So you have the bill laid out, and just fold it book style directly in half like that, and make a nice, neat, hard crease right in the middle like that. So you've got it folded in half now, and all the ends should be very even. And then once you've done that, fold the bottom up, so you're folding it in half again now, lengthwise, and make these creases nice and sharp. And then finally, you're going to fold it book style again one more time like that, and make those creases very sharp. Okay, you've got those nicely creased, and now take your monofilament line and thread it through your needle like this. Give yourself several feet of it, and here's what you're going to do. What we want you to do now is to open this up, the last fold, and flip it over, and you'll see the O here, the big O on the back side of the bill. And if you look right above that, you'll find kind of a little scrolling, looks like a big wave, and just find the center of that wave right there, right where the surfer rides. And punch the needle through all layers of the bill so it comes out the other side. And then you want to just pull that through the bill. And of course I'm using a thick line here, so I'm going to do it with my teeth, like that. Alrighty, so now you've got your monofilament coming through like that. And you're almost done now at this point. You've got one last thing to do. You want to mark the spot. Now you remember you've got your book fold here. You want to mark the spot directly opposite where that would be. So if you just kind of fold it in on your crease and look at where that thread comes through, I've put a little dot with a pen. You'll probably notice it directly opposite, because that's where you're going to attach with a piece of tape the end of the thread. Watch, I'm going to clip this off now. So you stretch this across the bill like so, and all you need to do is put a piece of tape, a little bit of the kind of Scotch tape that doesn't reflect light, which you wrap your packages with. So you lay that sort of flat, put a piece of tape right where it intersects the little dot you made, the very, very edge of that piece of tape, and at that point you are ready, and you can clip off any excess string there. And now it's all attached. It's fixed to the bill. So the whole bill now is threaded for performance, just like the one I showed you before. And I'll show you real quickly without even pinning it to my clothes. I'll just pull, and you'll notice that this bill folds all by itself. At the other end, you want to leave yourself several feet. You can either tie it to a little safety pin if you know the exact length you want. I usually have it clipped right on the belt loop inside here. But you have to have enough room to be able to extend your arm forward and take up all the slack, so you don't want to have a fully extended arm by the time the thing's folded. So figure out what that distance is for you, and then you can either tie it there or have a pin set for that distance, and you're all ready to perform it. Now, obviously, you can't hand this bill out for examination. It's one of those things that you do like I did with Tiffany, is you just sort of show it like that, and you say, look, I will show you something with a bill, and you just lay it on your hand like that, flat, and then let it do its thing like that. And you actually can pick it up a little distance and leave it in your fingers like that, and you can show that it's actually a little bit movable. And then say, I'll just tuck that away and put it in your pocket. Better put it in this pocket, otherwise you'll have a thread running from here to there. Well, there you go, a little folding money for your enjoyment.
Jaw droppers, yeah!